Hey everybody, welcome to Final Obsession, the podcast. We're here at the Record Parlor in Los Angeles, California with Jim Florentine, who just picked out his top 5 vinyl. And we're going to take a deep dive into his picks on Final Obsession, the podcast. Hey everyone, and welcome to Vinyl Obsession, the podcast. I'm Eric Young, and this is Jim Florentine. Jim Florentine is a comedian, DJ, and TV personality. He was the co-host of That Metal Show on VH1 Classic for 7 seasons. He also voiced several of the characters on the show Crank Yankers and currently hosts The Jim Florentine Show on Sirius XM Radio. He also hosts the podcast Everybody is Awful. Right, so you've picked your top 5. We're going to go through these, no particular order, pull them out, talk about why, what it makes you think, what it makes you feel. Let's dive into it.
All right.
Vinyl number 1.
All right, this first one is Black Sabbath, Sabotage. This is their 6th studio record. They were, going through some stuff with the record label that we had sued. They were broke. They didn't realize it. So they basically had to just start over.
Yep.
You know, you always hear those stories about these bands getting ripped off.
Yep, making no money somehow.
They had no idea. Like Ozzy would go, yeah, I want to get a Mercedes-Benz. The manager's like, yeah, no problem. They'd be in the driver the next day. They're like, we didn't know that they were like borrowing this money, stealing it. We had to pay all this money back. We're on tour for 2 years. We go home, we still have no money.
Crazy.
So they got ripped off and they were in court trying to get out of contract. And they would go to court and then go back in the studio and record. So there's so much venom.
Yep.
You know, because they wrote all this stuff. It was their blood, sweat, and tears. And they had these shady managers that they trusted, and they took all that money. So their anger and rage really comes out in this record.
It makes for good rock and roll music.
Yeah, it makes for great. And, there's a song called Symptom of the Universe on here, which a lot of the metal bands like Metallica said that was pretty much like the first, almost like a thrash song.
Right.
Like that riff.
Yep.
It was so heavy that a lot of bands in the 80s, when they came around, 6-7 years after this album came out, like that song was the one that did it for them.
Wanting to make that sound themselves.
Yeah.
And now you told a story out there about the cover art. Is cover art important to you?
Cover art's very important, yeah.
So let's dive into that story. It blew my mind. I think it's amazing.
Yeah, so they came to they didn't know what they were going to do, and they go, all right, we're just going to put you up in these goofy costumes, whatever. Bill Ward showed up with no pants to the studio that day.
Which is awesome.
He's like, I didn't have my pants. And they're like, what happened? I don't remember. He's like, I don't remember what happened to my pants. Like, if you show up to a studio, there should be a good story on why you didn't have pants.
Right.
So I guess his wife was there. His wife had these tights. So this is Bill Ward, the drummer. He wore his wife's tights on the front album cover.
It's
That's all he had to wear. They go, we only have the photographer here for a few hours. I go, I'll just put these on. So they're super tight. And then the back, they have the back of them. So look, he's either...
the thing is crazy about it is he still looks cool and it still looks like rock and roll.
Right, and Ozzy's got this weird outfit on. I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
And Tony Iommi's sitting. Yeah, it's just it's not an amazing classic album cover, but it's great.
Yeah.
Sabbath has some better ones, but just this album alone is just it's so good. And this is a deluxe version, so they actually opens up.
Yep.
The original one didn't, but which is even better.
So how old are you? Where are you the first time you hear this album?
Probably like 12 or 13.
Yep.
This album came out 75, so I didn't hear it when it first came out. But later when I get into them, probably about 78 is when I started going back and listening. And this is when I first heard this record.
Yep.
And this is the one I gravitated to. Paranoid's great. It's got all the hits on it. The first one's a classic. The song Black Sabbath, The Wizard. But this one, I always go to the album that aren't the hits.
Yep.
If it was one of my favorite bands.
Yeah.
I always like those kind of records. But then again, Metallica, Master of Puppets, even though it doesn't have, the Black Album has more hits on it. But that's my favorite Metallica record.
Yep.
So, but this album is just, it's a masterpiece. And a lot of people don't like it because, like I said, there's no hits on it. But to me, I love the record with no hits.
Yeah, part of me for listening to vinyl too is like you're listening to how the artist who wrote the music intended you to listen to the order, and you're not hearing just the songs that they picked or some producer or some executive picked that are going to be played on the radio. You're hearing all of the other stuff, and that's the best part about this. I'm getting the full experience.
The full experience, and the order is so important in a record.
I believe that too.
The order from the first track to the last track is really important.
Yep.
You know, that's because it's got to, it's because you put like the best song first. A lot of bands will do that, and then afterwards it's not that good. But then sometimes tracks will be buried, like 8 or 9. So it's really a fine art.
Yeah.
Sometimes you want to push a track that you're not sure if it's going to be that good, but you really like it, so you put it third.
Yep.
Because you go, all right, they're listening. It's on side 1, so they're going to have to listen through that third song.
That's science to it, and they're doing it for a reason.
Yeah, they're doing it for a reason. Yeah.
Yeah, I love
and with
that.
an album that has no hits on it, Sabbath's like, no, this is the order. This is it. So, radio's not playing any of this stuff, which is great.
Yeah, I love that. It's a great start.
I had him sign my knuckles one time in a record store with a black magic marker. I didn't wash my hand for like 3 weeks. When I go in the shower, I put a bag on it.
This is Vinyl Obsession, the podcast. And we're back with Metal Show's Jim Florentine. All right, number 2. Vinyl number 2.
All right, number 2. All right, so Ozzy, Diary of a Madman. This is the second album. After Blizzard of Oz, Ozzy's get kicked out of Black Sabbath. Randy Rhoads on guitar. It was Bob Daisley on bass and Lee Kerslake on drums. They got kicked out of the band before they started touring, pretty much. So then it was Rudy and Tommy Ulrich. But just look at the album cover.
Yeah.
I mean, just unbelievable.
Like you said, you see this, you have to buy it.
There was a bunch of you have to, even if you don't know. There was a bunch of albums like these old weird, like new wave of British heavy metal bands. I would just see the album cover. There's a band called Raven, had an album called Rocket to Your Drop, and I didn't know anything about them, but all the equipment was on top of them. Their Marshall amps, their guitars, they're laying on it.
Yep.
Like, and you just see their heads, and I'm like, this has to be good. Yep. And it was great.
You were right.
It cost me $16. It was an import. It was a gamble. I was making like $4 an hour. Like, it's got to be good.
Had never heard of the band. Had never heard the music.
No, I didn't know. I knew they were metal, but but you still want to see how it sounds. I had no idea what they're going to sound. It has to be good. And an album like this has to be good.
Yeah. You said something about your collection. Now, you've had it for a long time.
Yeah.
You were doing weddings and as a DJ, and you're like, well, I can't get rid of these. Sentimental to you.
So I had 1,500 records from back in the day.
Nice.
That was my collection. And then when vinyl went out of style, everyone got rid of the vinyl. Yep. I go to flea markets, they were $1.
Yep.
You see like Master of Puppets for $1, Appetite for Destruction, because people are like, oh, that's over. No one getting rid of my vinyl. I need room.
Yep.
Everyone thought, because a CD is only like this, so it's going to be less room. Who cares? What are you living in a little cave where you need that much room?
Right.
So I just never got rid of my stuff. Thank God my mom had this big basement and I kept it down there all those years.
Yep.
So you don't want to get rid of it? I go, no. It was still in milk crates and I still have them to this day.
It's such a great
I never got rid of my cassettes either. I still have my cassettes.
Yeah.
I still got my VHS. I still got my DVDs. All that stuff will come back, but even if it doesn't, I collected all this stuff. What am I going to get rid of it for?
It's sentimental. There's a connection to it.
And now you see vinyl is just exploding everywhere.
Yep.
Everybody's looking for, the original copies. I have all the original stuff.
Yep. But you won't sell them.
No way.
No, that's not for sale.
No, it's not for sale. I mean, some of them probably aren't in great condition.
Sure.
Because I was DJing. I was a DJ in a rock club, too.
Yep.
So there's probably scratches on them and stuff I never took care of.
Maybe a little whiskey
I
spilled on
did
them.
take care of the stuff. I did. You have to make sure they're all in alphabetical. My 1,500 albums are in alphabetical order.
Have to be so you can find them.
Yeah. People always like, you're weird. You got some obsessive compulsive. I go, no, how else do I do it? I have 600 concert T-shirts that cover 3 closets at my house.
Wow.
And they're all out of alphabetical order.
Wow.
I'm like, I have 32 AC/DC shirts.
But if you want to find it, it has to be this way.
It has to.
My records are in order too. I'm the most disorganized person on earth. If I want to listen to Meatloaf, it's so worn out, I can't read the spine.
Yeah, right.
I have to go to M and find it.
You have to go to M.
And if I didn't, it could take me hours.
Right. And if I want to wear a Motorhead shirt, one day I go right to the M's in my concert T-shirts, right where the M's are. So it'd be stupid not to.
Right.
So like, why am I going to go through all of these to try
people
to find
that are judging us for putting our stuff alphabetical? You.
And I got to see Ozzy and Blizzard of Oz with Randy Rhoads 5 times on tour.
Wow.
When I was a kid. I met him in a record store. Ozzy used to do all these record store appearances to promote the albums back in the day. So I met him a bunch of times. I had him sign my knuckles one time in a record store, Ozzy, you know, because he had Ozzy's knuckles with a black magic marker. I didn't wash my hand for like 3 weeks. When I go in the shower, I put a bag on it. I go to school. I was in this private Catholic school. They didn't know who Ozzy was.
On your hand.
Yeah, and I had Ozzy on my hand. Like, what is that? I'm like, Ozzy Osbourne. You know, I go, he actually signed like a weirdo.
All right, number 3. Final number 3.
You know, I put this one in here. I'm a hard rock and metal guy. The Police, Synchronicity. Only
Great
because
album.
Sometimes your ears need a break. You have to expand your horizons a little. I said I didn't want to do that much, but, you know, I'm a big Bob Seger fan, too. I was going to put a Bob Seger bit here, but put the Police. This album, when it came out, MTV back in the day was huge. The band was huge. They were selling out stadiums. I saw them twice live. It was an amazing show. And just when, you know, I just knew Roxanne. I'm like, And then when this album came out, I got it and went back and listened to the rest of their catalog. I could not believe how great of a band they were.
Amazing band.
Amazing.
So how are you introduced to Police? Is it through MTV? Is that where you see them?
It was through MTV because the Police would, you know, whatever record was before that, they were playing one of the songs, and this thing was just, I think they put Every Breath You Take was the first song.
Right.
The first, so that they blew up before the album even came out.
Right.
It was all over the place.
Yep.
And then Synchronicity 2 on here, Synchronicity 1, all that stuff. So I just got into it like, you know, I'm like, and they were amazing. And I a bunch of my friends were musicians, so these guys, you know, especially Stuart Copeland on drums, just a monster.
Right, a legend in the drumming world.
And then my friend was a drummer. He's like, you got to listen. I'm telling you, the Police. You know, you like metal. Listen to that drumming, and they're just a great band with great songs. So, and this record is my favorite Police record, Synchronicity.
It's a great choice, man.
In there.
Great choice.
My girlfriend at the time worked at the local Burger King, and I brought those guys in there. They were all smelly, long hair.
Right.
They were disgusting. They were alcohol in their breath or whatever. She thought she was going to get fired. I'm like, these are my friends.
Welcome back to Final Obsession, the podcast. Today we have comedian Jim Florentine talking about his top 5 vinyl. Vinyl number 4. Number 4.
Number 4, Metallica, Master of Puppets. You know,
favorite Metallica album?
Yeah. You know, you could go Kill 'Em All, but Kill 'Em All's great. And believe me, it set the whole genre of thrash metal. It did. But to me, you know, the production isn't great on it. You know, it's still a great record and stuff. It was super raw, which I love.
Yep.
You know, and then Ride the Lightning, they got a little more, like, you know, not as heavy. A lot of Metallica fans got mad, but when they put this thing out, Master of Puppets,
that was it.
That was it. And they opened for Ozzy. You know, they were open on the Master of Puppets tour. They weren't an arena act at that point, even still. So it was Ozzy with Metallica opening doing Master of Puppets.
Yeah, which is a wild. I mean, think about them two playing a live show right now.
I know.
Right at their pinnacles, but Metallica's opening for him.
Yeah. So Metallica would, you know, was opening, you know, in arenas for Ozzy. So I saw that tour like 3 or 4 times. And like I said before, you know, I know these guys from the beginning.
Yeah.
You know, they started on Mega Force Records in Old Bridge, New Jersey. That's where I grew up. I knew the guy from the record label. He had a little record shop and a flea market. I'd hang out there. And these guys were in town. They were just hanging out because he signed them to the label. He brought them from San Francisco to Old Bridge, New Jersey, a little town.
Yep. Before they're a thing. They're not even a thing at this point.
They weren't even a thing. They only had the No Life to Leather cassette out. So the guy, I remember Johnny Z from Mega Force goes, this band's going to be huge. I'm going to manage them. So he brought them. They were just playing local gigs at the bar, at a roller skating rink.
Crazy.
It's a gym now. This roller skating rink from back in the day is a crunch gym that I go to.
Yep.
And I tell my friends, I go, Metallica played here. Like, no way. I'm telling you, they played here. I was here as a kid. So they would just hang out, you know, in the neighborhood. You'd see, and then the guy from the label goes, hey, look, Metallica's playing this little bar. Go support them. I need, you know, like, yeah, all right, no problem. So I saw probably 20 times before they even Master of Puppets store.
What does a ticket cost?
$5.
Right.
$3.
Which it sounds insane to say that out loud.
Yeah.
You saw Metallica for $5. Play live.
Yeah. No one knew they were going to be this big.
And, I mean, at this point, they're the biggest rock band in the world.
Yeah, no one had any clue. Yeah, they just did 2 nights at a MetLife Stadium. 160,000 tickets over the summer.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah, that was a big thing because my friend who had a baby, he goes, what's the first song he's going to hear when you drive home from the hospital in the car? I go, I didn't even think about that. He goes, dude, he goes, you have to. I go, I didn't even, now it just made me nervous.
Yeah.
That made me more nervous, than being a father.
Welcome back to Final Obsession, the podcast. We're taking a look at Jim Florentine's top vinyl picks. All right, album 5.
Album 5.
Vinyl number 5.
Judas Priest, Unleashed in the East. This is a live album. They recorded this over in Japan, came out in 1979. This is what introduced me to Judas Priest. The energy on this record is just phenomenal. I was saying before, some of those 70s records, the production on them wasn't that good. The old Judas Priest stuff, it's a little, the Scorpion stuff, a lot of 70s stuff for some reason, just the quality of it.
Yep.
But when they put the live albums, that's why those live albums were so big back in the 70s. The UFO, Strangers at Night, Thin Lizzy,
that energy,
Judas Priest, the energy, Ted Nugent, Double Live Gonzo, the energy on it, and the energy on this record is unbelievable. It brought all those old songs back to life. You hear them on the studio records, and it's like, but once you put them on a live record, completely
different feel.
Yeah. And and Halford, the thing with the 70s records, the live ones where he recorded in the studio, supposedly the Kiss ones were Alive and Alive 2. And Halford said in his book a couple years ago, listen, I was sick. We had 3 days to do this. I sounded like crap. I couldn't hit the notes because I had the flu. So I went back in and I just recorded I sang along to the music in a studio.
Right.
He goes, we didn't change any of the music or anything like that. But I just sang over that music that we did that night. So I don't care. It's still amazing.
It's a live album to you.
It's a live album.
It changes nothing.
It's incredible.
You told another really cool story of when your son was being born and there's all this stuff happened and he came early and you're like stressing and worrying about what song is going to be the first song that my son hears.
Yeah, that was a big thing because my friend who had a baby, he goes, what's the first song he's going to hear when you drive home from the hospital in the car? I go, I didn't even think about that. He goes, dude, he goes, you have to. I go, I didn't even, now it just made me nervous.
Yeah.
That made me more nervous, than being a father.
Like some asshole telling you to do top 5.
No.
Same thing.
Yeah. So, I think I had maybe a Sabbath song picked out. I can't remember what the song was, but I remember we went to the doctor and just for a checkup. It was a month before he was supposed to be born. And the doctor goes, you need to go to the hospital right now. Your water is breaking. So I had like a few CDs in my car. Yep. I had the Scorpions, Sting in the Tail was a CD. It came out like 2009 or something like that. And I had a couple other ones. And we went right to the hospital and the baby was born in like 12 hours. So I couldn't leave. It was like an hour away from my house. So I'm like, all right, it's got to be one of these songs.
Yep, you got to pick one.
I got to pick one of the albums. So I'm in the, she's like, come over here and touch your son. I'm like, wait a minute, I got to pick out a song. And the best is yet to come is a great ballad by the Scorpions, just about, a connection with somebody.
And the best is yet to come. Hey, oh. And don't look now. The best is yet to come. Sing it. Hey, oh.
What a song for the first song, the first title track for your son to hear. Best is yet to come.
And now I do the same thing with my kid, like when he was born and in the back seat driving around, I just drill hard rock and metal, and then he knows all of it.
Yep.
He's been to 19 shows.
Yep.
Loves it, and I knew I had him in that seat just like my brothers.
Yeah.
It brought me back to when I was a kid.
Right.
They were 17, I was 12. This is what I had to listen to. So when he was back there, I just kept playing him this stuff, some simple AC/DC stuff. Then I got him into Sabbath and all that.
Yep.
And he loves it. He loves the music. None of his friends do.
Right.
He's like, I don't talk to my friends about that. They don't know this stuff. I'm like, that's fine. So we still go to concerts all the time.
And you guys have that bond over that music.
Always.
And like you were saying out there, like you couldn't talk to girls, you couldn't talk to other people because you're listening to Judas Priest and all this unpopular music at the time. And now he's living that thing. It's like this weird circle of life.
It is, but I tell him, and he knows, but he knows better than me because that's all I wanted to talk about. I had nothing else to talk about.
Well, Jim, this has been awesome. It's a great top 5, dude. I could listen to you talk about music all day. Is there anything you want to talk to people about, things to plug? I know you're on Boneyard. We've got some mutual friends. And I've done some long drives listening to the Boneyard several times with those boys. So anything you want to get out there and tell us about?
Yeah, no, I do. Yeah, I do a show on Ozzy's Boneyard every Thursday from 5 to 7 on Sirius XM. And it's good because they let me pick my own songs. So it's like, I started in the business as a DJ. I thought that's where I wanted to go. Then I realized I couldn't play the records I wanted to play. So then I got into comedy, and then I got the gig at Sirius later on. So I'm back to DJing, which I did, and I get to pick my own songs. So I always play deep cuts off of these records.
Yep.
I don't play the hits.
Yep.
I'm not playing Master of Puppets, but I'll play Orion.
The people listening to Boneyard, they know those songs.
They know it because they're the same guy as me.
It's cool how it's full circle. This has been amazing. Guys, I want to thank you guys for watching Vinyl Obsession, the podcast. I'm Eric Young. He's Jim Florentine. He's obsessed. I'm obsessed. And now you are too.